To Fridays with the Fiddle Fig here at the Selby's filming headquarters, our home office. And Instagram, I think you're probably live on Instagram now too.
Yep.
So welcome Instagram followers, welcome Facebook followers, subscribers, whatever you want to call it. We're excited to be back this week. We're actually going to be doing a slight continuation conversation from last week. If you recall, last week we talked about improvements and remodels that you can make to your house that were going to increase the value of your home. And this week, guess what? We're going to talk about things that you do that will pretty much give you no return on your investment, or very little. And in some cases, it may actually even give you a negative return if it's really bad. So let's get into it this week. And we'll actually link last week's video in the description so that you can check that out if you didn't catch it, and then you can check this week out too, so you can get both sides of things, especially if you're considering a remodel now that you've had 4 months of sitting in your house and you're going, I need to change this. So here's some tips of things you probably shouldn't do or should strongly consider not doing, unless you just really love it and can't live without it. So with further ado, let's get into it. So last week, my two big things that really gave a lot of money, or actually helped increase the value of your house by quite a lot, were kitchen remodels and bathroom remodels. And so this week, I just want to talk about things with that would actually hurt, be hurtful or really just not give you any return. And that is a kitchen remodel or a bathroom remodel where you've gone extremely custom on it. Doing or just going really, really high end. There is a point in any of those remodels where you're just not going to get the money out that you're spending. So, super custom cabinets that maybe don't fit with the decor of what people in this current market are liking to see, or extremely, extremely high end appliances or finishes, things like that. Buyers don't realize how much some of that costs, and they're not going to add the proper value to it. So be careful when you are doing a remodel. You want to make your house look nice and new and custom, but you don't want to go over the top and overspend, because you get to a point where you're not getting any return on that. So that is one thing that I highly recommend staying away from. And if you have any questions on it and you're thinking about doing a remodel and you want to run some ideas by us, feel free to reach out, and we'd be happy to at least discuss with you and say, yeah, that's probably going to add some value, or no, it's really not going to help at all. So so that's one. Another one, I don't know, this may surprise you. It always surprises me, even though I know it's the case, is a pool. Adding a pool. It almost never is going to add value, especially in Southern California. There are some places that people kind of expect to have a pool, but if it's not there, it's not really hurting the value. And if you go and spend $100,000 putting a pool in, you're really not going to get just $100,000 on that house. You put two houses side by side, everything equivalent, but one has a pool and one doesn't. You may get a little bit more for the one with the pool, but a lot of that's going to be determined on what buyer is out there for that house. You might actually deter somebody by having a pool because they don't want the maintenance and they don't want the safety hazards, with small kids and things like that. So that could be a huge deterrent for some buyers. Also last week, so I talked about curb appeal a lot and adding curb appeal to your house and your yard. The third thing I should say, that really doesn't add a whole lot of value is when people go over the top with their curb appeal and with exterior landscaping. So I've walked into properties before with buyers, and they're advertising $250,000 in landscaping, remodel, and there's really no effect of whether the buyer is going to buy that house or not, because the seller spent $250,000 on their landscaping. They have beautiful landscaping, it's nice, but they probably could have gotten landscaping that would have wowed the buyer just as much for $50,000, $20,000, something like that, So be careful when you're going and spending money on landscaping, unless, again, you're going to be there for a long time, you want to have an entertainer's backyard, you want to put barbecues up and water features and huge trees, things like that, and you're doing it for yourself. I think otherwise it's just not worth spending that much money. People want to see clean spaces. They don't necessarily need them to be elaborate. And then, so those are the really big things. Those are the things that I find a lot of clients spend a lot of money on from time to time, and if you're not careful, you're not going to get a good return. A few other things that are a little bit funny. Whirlpool bathtubs in bathrooms. In fact, I think that gives people a negative reaction. Most buyers do not like them at all, and don't like they're just going to rip them out and put a shower in. So again, unless that's a personal appeal and you really want one, don't do that. Put a hot tub in the yard or something like that. It's going to have a much better reaction from a buyer than the Whirlpool bathtubs. And then the last thing is just over customization in general. You can, paint walls, all sorts of colors that you love, do custom design work and all that, but just know that a lot of buyers want a clean slate. So they want white walls or clean walls. They want less customization in like kitchens, bathrooms, master bedrooms, yards, etc. And they want more of just a clean slate, something that's clean that they can, one, envision themselves being in, and two, they can see themselves easily changing if they want to make it their own. So hopefully you got a lot out of it. Again, we're going to link last week's episode in here. And as always, if you want to ask us questions or have some comments about what we've been talking about today, just reach out in the comments or send us a private message, and we'd be happy to address it. And privately or publicly, depending on what's best. So hope you enjoyed this week's episode. Check back next week for another great episode. We'll see you then.